become energy independent. We can become an energy net exporter. We can tell OPEC and Venezuela, we don't need you anymore, and I would love to do that. Why send our money to them, many of whom are our enemies? Why don't we keep it here? Create our jobs here. This industry right now has already created 70,000 jobs. In the next 5 years, if we embrace this and move ahead, you're talking 350 to 500,000 good paying jobs, and can produce less expensive energy, which is good for industry. Come to Pennsylvania. You can live here. Less expensive energy to run our homes. Energy in the form of liquefied natural gas to run mass transit, because it is all here. Folks, the state that found oil first in Titusville can be the state that leads this country to energy independence if we just embrace it. And the beauty is, we don't really have to do anything to make it happen, other than for government just to get out of the way, and it will happen almost all by itself. So that's vision, and that's good news. We can fix our problems, embrace the new opportunities, and we can move this economy forward. Now, but we've got, unfortunately, money problems in Pennsylvania. We've got budgetary problems. Didn't happen overnight, just like the deaths in Washington didn't happen overnight, a little bit over time, but now it's accumulated into a big problem. Frankly, folks, in Pennsylvania tonight, we are insolvent. Happens to be the truth of the matter. That means we don't have enough money to pay our bills. Now, it doesn't mean we're bankrupt. We're not bankrupt yet, like California. California is functionally bankrupt. Their car ran out of gas many miles by the back up the road. They're just kind of going along in motion right now, but watch and keep your eye on California. And look at Greece in the European Union, and you'll find two very, very similar comparisons. We're not there yet, but we're about 2 years behind California. We're that close. Pennsylvania right now, we're about a $4 billion differential between budget and revenue. We have a pension problem that is often stated to be $4 billion, probably closer to $8 billion. We have $2.5 billion worth of debt owed to the federal government for unemployment compensation. We have about $10 billion of what we owe for what's called GASB 45. It's long-term health care obligations already entered into. Get my drift? We got real problems. Now, how are you going to fix this? Well, anytime you don't fix things when it's there and you put it off, it doesn't get easier. But I have said this, as governor, if elected, one thing I will not do, and I will not sign a tax increase bill to balance the budget in Pennsylvania. We will reduce our spending to line it up with our revenue. And why? Because the people of the state nor the businesses can afford a tax increase. Not now. We have to reduce our spending just like everyone in our home has done. Can we do it? Absolutely we can. I don't care that Governor Rendell says our budget is all mandated and we can't have it, we don't have any option. That is nonsense, and it is not true. But it's going to be difficult, but I believe with strong leadership the General Assembly will follow, because I don't think they really want to vote through a lot of tax increases either. But it's going to take some very strong leadership, both on the pension side to fix a lot of it, as well as the budget. Now, I also believe not to borrow. Not to borrow to pay off and to fill a hole. That's what's gotten part of the problem also. I'm not saying anything of that nature. But I'll introduce an attitude I've had since I've been in office. It's a simple one, but it's a constitutionally based concept. And it's this. It's the attitude towards the taxes that come to Harrisburg. It is my conviction and my belief that the taxes that come to Harrisburg out of people's pockets and out of businesses is your private property. It doesn't belong to us in Harrisburg. Now, we may have the power by government to take your property from you, but we don't have the moral right to take anything more than absolutely necessary than to meet the core functions of government. And if that is the case, then the attitude by those of us in office ought to be, your property is in our possession. Our obligation is to be a steward of that property, to use it wisely, no more than absolutely necessary. Spend it as if we're spending our own money, with the idea that when we fix these economic conditions, the economy will grow. And at the end of 4 years, at the end of the governor's term, we can turn around and give a tax cut. That's my goal, not growing the size of government. That's what we can do. So that's the budgetary issue. That's the economic challenge. Now let me move to the second challenge that I think that's there, and that's the educational challenge. Frankly, folks, in Pennsylvania, the way we fund public education is broken. It is absolutely not sustainable. We cannot continue the way we are. 30% of our school districts right now across the Commonwealth are insolvent. They're basically just being band-aided together to keep them from going into financial distress. We cannot let them do that. We've had the problem for a long time. That's why, some 6 years ago, I put, with the help of some other key people, put together a financial reform plan to change the way we fund public education. And one of the benefits of that was to eliminate the school property tax as a part of that process. And why is the elimination of the school property tax important? You could probably tell me as well as I can tell you. And it's for this reason. No one in this Commonwealth owns their homes. That's right. You don't own your homes, you don't own your property. I used to think because I had a deed and I'd paid off my bank mortgage that I owned my property. Until it became really obvious that, you know what, when I began to meet people who weren't able to pay their bills, and I said, lo and behold, you fail to pay your rent to government and miss it for 2 years, your landlord will take and throw you out of your property. Therefore, who owns your property? The government does. Now, that's a sobering thought. I think our founders would have great, great pain and agony if they ever thought in this country that government would throw people out of their private property, which was life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Private property ownership is linked at the hip with liberty. That's right. And we have lost our liberty when we lose our homes. So that's why this is so key. I believe it's a fiscal issue. I think it's a moral issue. I think it's a constitutional issue. And I think now, as we're talking about an economy that's down a little bit, it's also an economic issue. Why is it an economic issue? Because so many thousands and thousands and thousands of people right now are watching their bank accounts go down like this, and they say, lo and behold, I don't have enough money to pay my property taxes, that $3 or $4 or $5 or $6 or $10,000 tax bill every year. And what am I going to do? And so they say, well, I can't go to the restaurant this week. I better not go down and get my car fixed. I don't have enough money to fix my car. I can't fix my roof. And lo and behold, all the local businesses now, their sales all begin to go down. Why? Because people can't afford to pay their tax. Because they're more concerned about their home than they are about doing all these other things. It's an economic condition, too. So there are great benefits. And can we fix this? Obviously, we can. Yes, we can fix this. Now, let me talk about a second challenge to education. That's a performance problem. We're spending lots of money, but we're not getting a whole lot to show for it. Test scores have not gone up accordingly with the amount of money that we've spent, nor has graduation rates or anything else that you'd measure it by. Therefore, is more money the solution to better performance? I submit it is not, and is not at all trackable or relatable. So what can we do? Well, I am a strong supporter of the concept of competition in education. I believe that competition, just as you see it on the basketball court or on the football field, works in education as well, and we need to provide parents more choices and academic choices for them, for their children, so that they can have more choices of where to send their kids to school. This will help all education, public, private, home, all the way through. And why do I think that this is important? Well, number one, it always helps performance. It always lowers cost, and it improves the quality. But beside that, a philosophy, a view that I have, which probably many of you have too, I think is this, and I think none of my opponents would agree with me on this, really. Maybe one might, one Democrat. But